please.
President Melissa Augusta, absent, excused. Secretary Pat Dooley, absent, excused. Trustee William Lawler,
Here?
Vice President Craig Messernick,
Here?
Trustee Tara Missioner,
Present.
Treasurer Jeff Wood, absent, excused. Trustee Tori Yu,
Present.
Student Representative Mehak Nessar,
We don't have a movie on that.
and Student Representative Tarun Tangarala.
Thank you. Now, if we could rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. Thank you. Moving on to our agenda, the first thing is to approve the agenda that we have. Does anyone have any comments, additions, or changes to the agenda? Julie?
Yes, Vice President Messernick, I do have an addition, if you don't mind. We're going to look at our matters for board action, and I'd like to add a letter F, and that will be a discussion and possible approval of a surplus amount in the personnel line, potentially for our DB, which is our defined benefit contribution for the 1920 year.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other changes, comments, questions on the agenda?
No.
If not, is there a motion to approve?
Motion
Move that the
to-
agenda be approved.
Excellent, thank you. All in favor, aye? Aye.
I think we need a
Do we need a
second.
second?
Well, we had two at one time.
That's true.
It's a tiebreaker.
I second. There you go. There's your official second.
Okay. Next, we'll talk about the approval of the regular meeting minutes from the last time. I will abstain from that vote because I wasn't here. So if you'll take a look at those and see if you have anything you think is not correct. And if that's not the case, then please offer a motion.
We will have to hold them until the next meeting then, with only having 3 votes. We won't have a quorum,
Okay.
which is not a problem. We'll bring them back to the September meeting. But I'm happy to entertain any questions if there are any.
Doesn't look like there are any. Next on the consent agenda is the approval of the claims and warrants, which are shown on pages 14 to 16. Any comments or questions on those?
I did have one comment on those. The payment to LinkedIn. But what do we do with those folks that we would pay $13,000 for?
So they just acquired one of our databases.
Oh.
One of the databases that we called lynda.com. So it's a business resource and it's a learning database. So they're recently obtaining it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's an annual fee that
It
we
is
see?
an annual fee. Yes, thank you.
All right. Any other questions on the claims and warrants? If not, is there a motion to approve?
A motion to approve claims and warrants.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Very good. All right, moving on to point 6, correspondence. We do have some correspondence. Julie, would you like to discuss those, please?
Absolutely. Starting on page 17, the first one is a comment from Mr. John Martin, and he is giving a kudos to Gail, who is our programming coordinator, for an outstanding job with the Beatles program that was held at the library. The second comment is from Joanne Rudy, and her comment is she thought that the Dr. Nitro show was great and the ice cream is super. So another comment on another program that happened this summer. Following on page 18 and 19, I wanted to share with you a comment that we received about the youth area and concerns for safety with older children, maybe in that area when it is geared towards our younger audience under the age of 5 and under. So this was my response to Sophia Zhou. I appreciate her reaching out to me with her concerns. We are definitely looking at that. As you can see, I put in even a response from April Stevenson about the staff being alerted and making extra note of that area and monitoring of it. It's not that we don't want the older children in that area, because we know that, there's spaces there, but we want to be very cognizant of young children and the safety of them. And should we see anything that, seems to be overactive with an older person in that area, we're going to ask them to move to a different part of the building, just because it is geared towards our youngest users.
And I just have a quick question. I read that and I thought about like the bouncies and how that could be
Yes.
very dangerous. But that it's okay if an older person was just checking out books, though, or
Oh,
reading.
absolutely. That's
it's
why-
more of like the activity area specifically. Don't act like a 2-year-old.
Right,
Gotcha.
right. And that's why, I think she was looking for a policy change, but I'm not comfortable with that, knowing that really all aspects of the building can be used by all patrons of the library. Dependent on age, it doesn't depend on age.
Right.
So I'd like to start first with our staff monitoring it, working with the older people that might go in that area and suggest that they find another spot.
Yeah.
Great.
Good response.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. At this point, we have no presentations or special guests tonight.
We do not.
We do not.
Thank you.
So we have reached the first of 2 opportunities for public comment. In order to hear all citizen comments at a reasonable hour, the library board requests that speakers respect a 3-minute time limit. This is not a question and answer session, therefore the board members will not respond to questions. It is an opportunity to voice your thoughts with the Novi Public Library Board of Trustees. If we have anyone wishing to make a comment, please come up to the podium and tell us who you are.
Thank you, Board. I am Venkat Thalla. I am a resident of Novi for the last 21 years, and I have been a resident of USA for the last 33 years. And I am very thrilled and very happy. Our city is doing an excellent job. I have 2 kids. One is a resident doctor. Last month he joined in Washington, D.C., and the other one is in Toledo on the way to become a resident doctor.
Nice.
I just have a suggestion. I am an IT professional with 35 years of experience. The entire industry or globally is going through a change from waterfall classical methodology of management to agile methodology. I'm sure some of you might have heard, and in fact, Gail gave me an opportunity to present about the agile methodology in one of, I think, probably a few months back. So what is that, or a suggestion I should say, that we should have an agile coaches who are available freely. Sometimes they want to pass on the knowledge. So we should consider that as a regular program, a weekly program. And thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Seeing no one else coming forward, we will move on to the student representative report.
Good evening. This is the July 2019 Student Representative Report. It was submitted by Ms. Gochai because us representatives, Ms. Gochai had some miscommunication, so Ms. Gochai had to go ahead and write the report for us. So the programs. The Teen Book Swap program took place on July 10th. Teens brought in a gently used teen book to swap with other teens. We also enjoyed a snack. The attendance for that was only 2. The Dr. Nitro's Mad Science Show and Liquid Nitrogen Ice Cream Social program took place on July 17th. Dr. Nitro presented a hands-on science show where he explained how nitrogen ice cream is made using science. Everyone got to enjoy a liquid nitrogen ice cream sundae. The attendance for that was 125. The Blast Off into Space astronaut training program took place on July 24th. During the program, participants did hands-on activities that helped them train like astronauts. Some of the activities included measuring their height, agility course training, and building a space rover. The attendance for that was 23. The Between the Pages Teen Book Club program took place on July 31st. Attendees read the book Chasing Hell City by Ginger Z. The purpose of the program is to discover new books and make new friends. The book club also encourages teens to read and practice for the Battle of the Books program that the library holds annually. The attendance for that was 13. For the Teen Space update, there was no Teen Space during July. Teen Space is offered during the school year, except during vacation breaks. The Teen Space will resume again on September 3rd. For the TAB, or Teen Advisory Board update, there was no TAB meeting in the month of July. TAB meetings will resume again in September 2019 when the 2019-2020 school year begins. The next TAB meeting will be on September 20th. For upcoming programs, we have the SAT practice test, which is on September 14th.
Excuse me.
We have the TAB, or Teen Advisory Board meeting, which is on September 20th. We have Between the Pages Tween Book Club, which is will be held on September 25th. Now on page 21, we can see pictures of Dr. Nitro's Mad Science and Liquid Nitrogen Ice Cream Social. And on the page after, the top picture is Dr. Nitro with some participants enjoying their liquid nitrogen ice cream. And then the other picture is participants showing off their certificates of completion from the astronaut training program. And that's all from our July 2019 student representative report.
Very good. Any questions for him? Yeah, Bill?
I had a question about the SAT practice test. Who administers that? Is that someone from the school or someone from your organization, or just kind of the format of what goes on there?
It's actually a local company that we work with. So there's testing companies in the community that we've been working with and partnering.
Okay.
Typically, they pay a sponsorship and offer, and then we are able to offer some programming in partnership with them.
Gotcha.
So they're qualified, they have certification as well, pretty well known in terms of, in the business of offering those types of programs.
Excellent.
Anyone else?
The ice cream looked really good.
That's cool too.
Thank you, and
Thank you,
good luck in the upcoming school year.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Great, we'll see you at the end
Thank
of
you so
September.
much.
Okay, thank you.
Julie, would you like to talk about the information on page 23 about
Absolutely.
Lindsay?
So I'm very excited to let you all know that Lindsay Gochai won a stipend to attend YALSA's 2019 YA Services Symposium. So the cost for her to go to this to learn more about young adult services and how we serve our teens, that stipend will go towards it, and she's able to attend. We're very excited that she is representing Novi Library, and this is a national type conference that she'll be attending on behalf of us. So congratulations to Lindsay.
Absolutely. All right, please pass out our congratulations to her
I
also.
sure will. Yes.
Moving on to the president's report, we'll just take a quick look on page 24 at the objectives. And I think it's always worth repeating the three objectives that we have listed there. 1, to empower universal literacy. 2, to escalate an innovative and inclusive culture. And 3, to enhance core interactions within our diverse community. And then as you see below that, we have another number of bullet points broken out into different areas. And I guess just an editorial comment, I have a hunch that if we went back and looked at strategic objectives, not just from our library, but other libraries 5, 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't necessarily have seen these three there. So I think it's quite interesting that we have gone in that direction.
More to come on that, by the way. As you know, this is just our rough draft, but just wanted, for now, just to have that in there as just something for you to refer to.
Yeah. And as far as the goals, we will go over those in October.
Yes,
at
we
the
will.
October meeting. Very good. Moving on to the treasurer's report. By any chance, did the treasurer submit a report?
We did not receive anything.
Okay. Well, let me make an attempt to kind of wing it through here real quickly, because I think it should be discussed. If you look at pages 26 through 28, you will see the 2018-19 budget, the amended budget, an end-of-year projection, and then the approved for 2020. If you look at the 2018-19, you're looking at total revenues of $3,033,030. In the amended column with expenditures projected at that time to be $3,140,250 for a fund balance usage of $107,220. Currently, the projection, and I'm going to say currently in quotes, is in the blue column, and you'll see that it's projecting revenue of $3,043,353 and expenditures of $3,076,479 for a fund balance usage of $33,125. Recently, we have found out that that blue column is not as current as it should be. I should back up and say that even though this was through the end of the fiscal year in June, it takes about 3 months to get all the final numbers in, and you're trying to kind of take an educated guess as you go down that road. So at this point in time, instead of having a projected year-end fund balance usage of $33,125, we are actually looking at an increase in fund balance of, shall we say, approximately $200,000?
$244,909.
Okay, I was a step ahead of myself, because a little later, we're going to talk about 40,000 roughly of that 240,000 roughly. And we'll get to that in the board action section.
And you
So-
can see that number on page 32 if you'd like to, that very first column. The end balance, 6/30/2019, that very last number is 244,909. Now, this is not audited yet, but it is a fairly good number at this
Okay.
point in time.
Quickly, again, looking at the 2019-2020 numbers, which is the far right-hand column, the approved amount shows if I wrote it down right, a revenue of $3,142,000 and expenditures of $3,234,000 for a projected fund usage of about $92,000.
You are correct.
So that's where we're at right now for the year that we've just begun. And as you all know, that will fluctuate as we incur monthly activity. If you look at pages 30 and 32, you will see information for the current month that we're in, are reporting on, which was July. You'll see revenue of $33,758 and expenditures of $188 plus change, for a fund usage of $155 and change. Again, we don't get the property tax revenue at this point in time, so it will always look a little out of kilter till we get a couple more months into the year. But that's what we're showing. If we look at Fund 269, which is on page 33, again, had modest revenue and expenditures, revenue of $1,115 and expenditures of what was $147 or $197, I can't read my own handwriting, for a usage of $917. Again, it's early on, and that will obviously change as we have activity. I think it's important to look at the balance sheets, which are on 34 and 35. And again, some of this will change because it's based on the end of prior fiscal year fund balance. But you'll see there that we have an ending fund balance of $1,994,449 for Fund 268. And on the next page, you'll see the ending fund balance of $1,677,004 for Fund 269. That one probably won't change much. The first one will change a little bit. So we managed to get through the year, and it looks like we're going to actually increase the fund balance a little bit, which we're always happy to be able to do. Any questions on that somewhat abbreviated treasurer report?
So the $244,000 figure is actually projected to be the fund balance, or is that just looking that way right now and other
That's
things are coming in?
projected to be the increase in fiscal year 18-19 of, well, 240 minus 40.
Right.
So right now, we're projecting approximately $200,000 of fund balance increase for this past fiscal year.
Yes.
Was anybody else expecting that this year? I don't think I was. Excuse
No,
me.
we weren't. No, we weren't. And even at mid-year, when we were doing, our mid-year review and adopting at year end, I wasn't expecting it to be that. So we did some savings in some utilities. We had some additional revenues come in. So there's a number of things that came in after our budgeting time. So I'm very pleased with. There's some personnel we didn't actually expend. And then even we ran into some building issues this year that we had to expend out some things, and yet we still stayed very good and very frugal, and kept that savings.
Good management.
Thank you.
I'm sure that was a big part of it.
We're very happy to see that.
Me too.
And any other questions on those financials?
No, great job.
All right.
On the
thank you.
fly like that.
We will move on to the director's report.
Okay, I'm on page 36 to start, and these are our celebrating anniversaries for the month of August. Mary Robinson, one of our information services librarians, and Mary also was the lead on our iCube. Mary will be with us 14 years this month. Dominic Dute, information technology, 8 years, and actually Dominic just received a small promotion to technology supervisor, and he's actually working some of his time in our iCube as well now. Then we have Yolanda Hockaday-Dennis. She's out of information services. She is our teen monitor in the teen space, and she will be with us this year 4 years. And Chris Nadeau from support services. He's one of our support services supervisors, and he is with us 1 year. Then below, we're going to talk about some budget information. The one thing I definitely want to make you aware of is the email that I received from Jessica Dory, who is from our finance department at the city, and she has let me know that we have to have all of our 2021 budget information in by the end of January, which has definitely moved my calendar forward and has definitely moved my department meetings forward in December in order to deliver to you, hopefully, a good budget for us to use for 2021. So I have given you some dates to think about, to put on your calendar. We had talked about maybe doing some Fridays instead of the weekends, and not taking your weekend time up. And so I have proposed on page 36 the dates of Friday, January 10th and Friday, January 17th as 2 dates for us to meet from the times of 3 to 6 p.m. and then the approval being on Thursday, January 23rd. I'm open to any thoughts and suggestions. I just know now that I'm working from a really, a month earlier on the budget and turning things in. So if you want to do weekends and stuff, I was trying to avoid some of that. If you want to do weekends instead or make some changes, we can, but I'm pretty tight with what we can do.
When do you think we need to reach agreement and finalize these dates?
I know I can't do that date. It's my anniversary week.
Again.
It happened, and usually I accommodate, but this year I'm not. I gotta go somewhere.
Which day?
That's why I pulled off the weekend, just in case. I thought I could move them earlier. Are you gonna be gone that whole week, or do you think if I pulled it?
We're still planning, but
Okay.
but this is a Friday, so that's the thing, because usually we'd probably leave
Okay,
earlier.
okay, and that's why I didn't do Saturday, because I knew that's always, in there. I can look earlier in that week if, it's just what I'm up against is needing time to present to you, and that first meeting is always the biggest meeting. If we had that on the 10th, that would work for me in terms of getting you a good preparation of material. But then it's that turnaround to that second meeting and what I might need to do in between, and then getting it to you, to the board for approval at your January 23rd meeting. So do you think we only need one meeting is my one question? Because, I know how great this board has worked with the budget in the past. And would one session do it, and maybe we go 2 to 6 on that 10th and knock it out and have some good conversation, or?
My recollection is that typically we reached relatively good agreement in the first meeting on most things, but we also have, I'll say, a handful of things where
Yes.
we ask you to
Right.
come back with more details, more information. Could we look at this? Could we look at that?
Right.
So the second meeting is almost always shorter.
Correct.
But I don't think extending the time of the first meeting would solve that, because we would still be
Right.
asking questions.
And that's where I felt I needed that week too, to turn around something should you have questions. One thing I can suggest, trustee Mitchner, is that we've had board members in the past, not at both.
Right.
And obviously, the first meeting on the 10th is definitely more critical.
Oh, I believe in being at the meetings. I hear you.
Right.
We'll figure it out.
But you also wouldn't do any approval until the 23rd either, and that again allows you back for that January meeting unless you're not even gonna be at the January meeting at all. And that's why I wanted to throw that out. There are some options there and it wouldn't be frowned upon if you weren't at that second meeting either. Because we've had members that aren't there.
I know. I'd frown upon me.
No, I understand, I do, and I appreciate that, yeah.
I'll figure it out.
So I am kind of looking for some direction tonight, only because I have to turn in, we're now on calendar timeline. We do have to approve some calendar dates this evening because I owe the city dates that would go in the 2020 calendar for the city, and it's good to have these in the calendar if we can.
Yeah, I mean, especially with three people not here.
Right.
We've got somebody that can't make one meeting, we might
Right.
have somebody that couldn't make it on a different day. So whether or not that can ever fully satisfy everybody, I don't know.
Right.
I guess maybe other days of the week, the first meeting is probably the most important, because that tells you what else we'd like to know
Sure.
and discuss. So,
I could look for that second meeting to be a little closer to the January 23rd meeting. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe that Monday of that week, and then we turn around and we actually approve on Thursday, if you'd be open to that. Would that be an option?
I would certainly think it
think
would
so.
be.
Okay, so we'd be looking at, just for me to clarify the date, because I would like to suggest that if we can. So the only thing we're gonna run into there, if we look at Monday, maybe we shouldn't do the Monday of that week, but maybe Tuesday, and then it's only 2 days that you'd turn around, because that Monday is Martin Luther King Jr. celebration.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on, I know in the
I
community.
think a 2-day turnaround is probably okay, because if we agree at the second meeting, if we don't agree, it's a whole different story. But if we agree at the second meeting, then the fact that we're coming back 1 day or 2 days later shouldn't make a difference.
Okay, so if we change that January 17th to Tuesday, January 21st,
Just a heads up, I won't be at the 21st one.
Okay.
Because it's also my birthday, but that's unrelated to why I'm not here.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we would be looking at someone making a motion this evening when we get to that, that we consider January 10th, Tuesday, January 21st, and then Thursday, January 23rd.
And the 21st, you'd be looking at 3 to 6 as well?
I'm gonna
Same
try for
time?
that same, yep, I'd be
Okay.
happy to entertain, that unless you would like like a little later. I could definitely do a little later if that's helpful, instead of during the day.
That's fine.
I think it's fine.
Probably a little later would help.
'Cause of school?
Yeah, because I don't get off till 3.
Got it, so maybe, would you, 4 to 7?
That'll work if that works for everyone else.
Well, that's probably true for the first meeting also, isn't it?
Well, we are only open till 6, and we have to follow the Open Meetings Act and be available, so that's why it goes to 6 on a Friday.
Yeah, well, you're probably gonna have at least one person who may not be able to make that one.
Right.
So I think we'll have to do, I mean, in
Do
the
what we
time
can.
frame, I don't know what else we can do, but the best we can.
Yeah.
Unless we back that up to the Thursday instead of the Friday the 10th.
So we're looking at the 9th. That is doable, if you'd like to hold an
Thursday's
evening and go later.
I'm just thinking,
Yep,
we've
So-
got some board members who, I don't know
Absolutely.
if they can make 4, but it's
Right.
probably better than
Better.
3.
so if we entertain 4 to 7 on both, it would be the 9th, and then 4 to 7 PM, and then January 21st, 4 to 7 PM. Great. I'm willing to do that if
Yeah.
you all.
And the 21st is a Tuesday, you said?
It is a Tuesday, yes.
Yeah.
Okay?
And then another date to consider at the very bottom is potentially canceling our February 27th meeting or moving it to Wednesday, the 19th or the 20th, as I am going to be at the Public Library Association Conference, which is out of state. And I just got the dates on that. So at that point, you have approved the budget. If you'd like a month off, that's up to you. If you'd like me to just move that date and then let you know the date based on, I'd like to try and have us here in council chambers, and at this point, that might be working around some dates and finding availability, but I could get back with you on that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
We'll vote on, when we go through board action.
Great.
We'll vote on this and
Perfect.
the other items also.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. On page 37, I just wanted to give you some information. I had the opportunity to present at the Novi Community School District Board meeting on August 8th. On page 37 is just an overview of things that the Novi Community School District has done in partnership with the library. I highlighted a couple things that were of interest for the past year. But of course, that whole list is a working document of good things that are happening in partnership with them. I have a meeting planned for September with the Walled Lake Community School District. And from there, I'll be setting up hopefully a meeting for their board as well to present how we've been interacting with them. So I'll more information on that to come. On page 38, when I was at the presentation, I wanted you to see what I talked about in terms of the future of MPL and how it impacted the Novi Community School District. So I've worked with Superintendent Matthews and all employees, 927 of them, next week will receive a library card.
All right.
Yes.
Nice.
They work in our district. They work right here in our school district, and they work very close, and they have that opportunity to be closely related to the library, and so we will give them a card in hand. I'll be also trying to do the same this fall with Walled Lake. Also, all students K through 6, we will do an initiative to try and get all children in that age group a library card as well, and we'll be working with each individual building. And that's thanks to Deerfield and the opportunity last March with you, Trustee Mitchner.
Thank you.
And using that as a pilot.
Yeah.
And then reaching out to the district in order for us to make it bigger. We know that there will be students that already have the card. And what the plan is once we receive, maybe the parent forgot about it, they don't know. When we receive the information, the form back, we'll be able to communicate in a letter back to the family that, oh, you already have a card with us on file. Maybe you lost it. We don't have a charge anymore for getting a new card. Come in and see us, and then we'll get going with that. So there's a way to communicate to say you're not getting your card today, and here's why, and please reach out to us.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we talked about some building relationships with their educators and how this is really taking off with our iCube. Next week, 140 of the high school employees will come over and see the iCube next Thursday. Those are all teachers and educators in that building. We also will be, any new employees, we have a new employee tour coming up as well, and I'm working with the school district on that. So we are definitely trying to get the iCube in everybody's mind. Then exploring our cafe experience, and we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. Launching the lending library, which I shared with them, and what's happening with the North End. Redeveloping our youth area for early learners. That'll come in the 2020 budget, but we do have a time frame for when the race car will be leaving, which will be in October sometime, and then we'll be able to move forward with some kind of new development there. And then expanding opportunities to connect with K-6. On page 39, this is a designed magnet that will go home to about 3,300 students, K through 6. It's a magnet explaining all the different databases that are pertinent to that age group and how they can explore and use them through the library.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yes. And then keeping each other abreast of what's new and how we can help each other. They have been wonderful with holding meetings with me. I thank Dr. Matthews, Dr. Weber, Melissa Matson, Sheila Holly, Mr. Asher from Woods. These are some of my key people right now. Nicole Carter, principal at the high school, and Yvelle Gazzarero, who's been with the cafe, that have been really, really working parts with me over the last 4 months. So it's been very exciting what's been happening over the summer and as we're coming into the school year. On page 40, we always host a breakfast where we bring in our media specialists that are in the district, as well as Walled Lake Community Schools and our Northville. We try to reach out to everyone that might have a media specialist or their main contact superintendents to join us so that we can give them a little bit of information about what's going on, and we will be showing them the iCube. This is for you because if you are available and can attend that morning, we'd love for you to be part of that. So please let me know and RSVP to me.
I've
I'd love to
attended in the past, and it's excellent. Julie and her staff make it beautiful. They make it interactive, and it's very delicious food on top of that, so.
So let me know if you are available that morning, and then we will make sure that you are part of that event. On page 41, this has already come up twice, 2 other board meetings, and as I shared, we are now at a critical time with the calendar for the city in order to look at and discuss an opportunity for potentially closing on Sunday, July 5th, and consideration of closing on December 26th and December 27th in the 2020 calendar year. Also, a consideration to close. I have May 1st. I'd like to leave that fluid and just leave it for potentially May at this time to close for our in-service and to plan for the Lakeshore training that we would do with the staff and then not have that training in August. I think that's just very beneficial to us to utilize that time frame if we can. And then, obviously just move it forward is what we'd be doing. But then really having the opportunity for the staff to really get to know the training and understand the Lakeshore Lending Library. I gave you some data that is on page 41 so that you can see numbers over the last 10 years and where we've been with some of the counts in the building. Moving forward also for your information is what are our paid holidays and days off at this point, not taking or factoring in the suggestions that I've made to you tonight. On page 43 is an agenda and an overview of what happened at our in-service on August 16th. And we had a great day. 60 employees out of about 68 were in attendance, which is a wonderful response to our staff being there for the day. I want to thank the board for giving us this opportunity to close one day a year so that we can all be together and talk and network and just share. It's very hard when you have 2 schedules, a morning and an afternoon schedule, to connect with everyone, and this is that one day that we do that. Everyone has a great time. We get to eat together, we get to collaborate together, we get to laugh together. We hear some very good programming. We go through training, and as you can see from the agenda, we had 3 major training sessions that happened from 8 a.m. till noon. And then we allowed the opportunity for the staff to get involved in the iCube and get to know that space better. Because if they know it and experience it and explore it, they will be really good promoters of it when they're at the desk. And that's why we wanted to take that afternoon opportunity for that. And then to follow up, we have a culture club, and Tia Marie Sanders is the chair, and then she gave an overview of how our culture club, which is a committee internally, and what we're doing with our staff and what might be coming for this year. Any questions to that particular part? And I did include for you the slides that were presented by Foster Swift, which was the harassment in the workplace training that all the staff took part in. Those staff members that unfortunately couldn't make it, we've created packets so they're receiving it all in our need to know, and they all received hard copies of this information. And then we launched our customer service. As you know, you approved a wonderful policy back in May that allowed us to start working towards a new initiative, which is Be Our Guest, our new customer service initiative for our staff, which will definitely impact our guests at the library. And over the next year, training will continue. This is some of the information and how that will roll out and how that will be shared with the staff and how we will continue through the year to do training and change over, changing that word from patron to guest and making them even more comfortable with our building and feeling even more a part of us. There was a thought that patron, just didn't seem warm enough and more and inviting enough. And from this committee over the last year, we're gonna make a big change and go from that word from patron to guest. We're already starting to use it, and it seems to be very easy for many of the staff to even use that word now and kind of change over, and it's a very positive thing for us.
Guest implies more hospitality.
It sure
right?
does.
We're taking care of the people that come in. I love this.
That was
read
all
this
created
over
by
and over
the
again.
committee. This was all created by the committee. So
I agree.
greet, understand, educate, satisfy, and thank. We're gonna work from those 5 words.
As an old customer service manager, I really like this.
Great, great. Thank you. Well, we have a wonderful committee that has been working on this, and they will continue throughout the year to do more work when it comes to that. April Stevenson was our chair. Sandra Lim, Joe Plosky, Scott Rakestraw, Linda Bruin, Lindsay Gochai, Shannon O'Leary, and Barbara Cook are currently on that committee and will continue throughout the year to train all of our staff and keep us moving in a very good direction. On page 49, there's an overview of the marketing committee. I put it in here this time because there was so much and not to take up the agenda, so I won't address that right now. I'll move past that. And there's also some additional information that we can talk about. On page 55, I wanted you to see a little bit of a campaign that we're working on to go more green at the library. We love paper, and we know some of our patrons love paper. But what we're finding is that we are really going through paper, and there's waste. And there's one thing I don't want is I don't want waste, so we're gonna look at it differently, hopefully more economically, but also we're going to encourage people, most of our guests, use their phone and have have access to something where they can easily take a picture of flyers instead of take home that paper, and then it's stored right in their phone for them to refer back to. So we're gonna do some education over the next year. If you've been to any of Gail's programs just in the last couple weeks, what she's done is we had an American Indian program last Saturday, and instead of having piles of flyers, Gail had a plastic cover with the flyer in it with this wonderful message, and you could take pictures of everything you were interested in instead of walking away with a piece of paper. Just trying to be a little more cost savings and green when it comes to reducing some paper waste. Then following on page 56, HR committee, we had some questions about, and this came from also my review in June about, where are we in terms of the breakdown of our staff and how we're represented. So I provided that information to you tonight on page 56 in the current organizational chart that we have that's been created so far for the organization. I hope to be scheduling an HR committee meeting based on this information that I know was of interest, and moving forward with conversations in ways that we might, develop something different or even look at ways to improve when it comes to knowing the demographics and makeup of our staff and how our organizational chart is currently in place. In fact, when Trustee Lawler and I were at the Michigan Library Association conference last fall, we were part of a cafe, they called it like a conversation opportunity where we sat with some other libraries and librarians talking about HR and talking about creating your organizational chart in a way that is more encompassing. And ours, page 57, I think is very old. It's an old style of an org chart, and I have some ideas for what I'd like to see, how we're represented going forward. And
So this isn't the updated one.
This is what?
This is not that
I
big.
haven't updated any, this is the current one that's in the board,
Gotcha,
in the board
okay.
packet and in our bylaws, yes.
Thanks, sorry.
But we will be moving forward and looking at some other options, yeah. So I wanted you to see all this, because I know there were questions on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then starting on page 58, there is a draft of the cafe lease. This is the second draft. However, tonight, you have the official with some red marks that we will go over, and then we will make a decision from there. That goes through page 60, through page 70. And so we'll get back to that for matters for board action. On page 71, April Stevenson was asked, she is our head of information services, if she would be interested in writing up the State Librarian's Excellent Award submission for 2019. And I wanted you to see what she created. We received beautiful support letters as well that went with this document. We were limited to 2 pages, so that's why she crammed in as much as she could with even smaller print, as you can see, to send this off. This has been sent to the state.
Good.
And we should be hearing, the deadline is August 23rd, so we should be hearing probably by mid-September. But we have done some wonderful stuff. We are obviously the only library in Michigan to be an excellent and receiving the Excellence Award, and I think that makes us a runner-up, if not the winner. I'm sorry, but I'm a little biased to what we're doing. But I wanted you to see her submission and how she wrote it. And then we'll wait and see, and we'll definitely keep you posted if we hear anything. Moving on to page 73 is an update on the eNABLE project and where we're going with that. The students over the last 2 years have been really working hard. Those hands have been completed, and we're now at a point where we're making delivery. And we have a connection with India to send out some of those hands. We've been doing some custom hands. As you can see, little Emerson on page 73 received a custom hand on August 16th from our eNABLE and Frog Force group. And we continue to work with that amazing team. That's just a small group of them at the bottom of 73. But Andrew, I'd like to point out, is one of our main go-to students. He is the one in the front with the green shirt, and it says Novi. He's holding the hand that actually was sent to Emerson. And this wonderful group of young students, they're really making a fabulous difference, and we're able to work with them on that. So I just wanted you to see where we were with this project to date after the last 2 years. Page 74 gives you some more details because Barbara Rakowski included in her IT report, and the students went to Henry Ford Museum, and they were part of the Maker Faire, and those are some photos from that. She also gives some information about upgrades, which we added a fast photo, high-speed photo, and document scanner to our iCube that was launched in July, and then we have something coming in September to launch as well, and then the training that her staff has been providing. On page 76 is the facilities report by Keith Perfect for July. And then also, Keith provided to me what we think would be pretty good numbers for almost complete, except for just 2 pending items, 2 purchases at the very bottom of page 77 for the cafe. So as you can see, we looked at about a $3,200 cost to clean up and repair our cafe in order to meet the needs of our new cafe services and our new partnership. And then we've got a waste can and a few stools to still purchase. But I'm looking forward to us moving ahead with this. And the staff that has come over from the cafe, they're very pleased with the way the space was presented. It's very clean, new paint and everything. They're ready to move in, and they were very much appreciative of the way it's been presented to them. So they're ready to just move in at this point. Moving forward on page 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83 is the report from April Stevenson, Information Services. A lot of great programming, great photos of different programs that happened throughout the month of July. A lot of summer reading, obviously, is a part of this. I can let you know, I don't have final numbers, but I have some rough numbers of at least 2,500 readers for summer reading, but that's not final number. And over 65,000 books read, that's not final number for what happened with summer reading this year, which I think is fantastic. And then on page 84, Support Services, Marianne Zermulin provides her July report, and I apologize, Marianne's last name was not added, and I will make sure that there's a note of that. But as you can see, items checked out in July, I'd like to go down towards the bottom under statistics, 82,000 items checked out just in July alone. Summer reading is a busy time. And right now, the staff is busy getting those back on the shelf because they're all coming back now. So it's a little hairy, lots of carts. And then we start our statistics on page 85. Those go through to page 93. As you know, we're starting a new year, so new numbers. Then following on page 94, this is the operating agreement between the Novi Public Library and the Friends of the Novi Library. This has been reviewed by the Friends, and it was approved at their at their August meeting. If you approve without any changes, if there are some changes, I will take it back. But, so we're in final stages of that agreement. And that goes to page 97. Then I included this time because I thought it's a new design, Dana coming on board. I wanted you, it will never be forward, it's always gonna be behind because we haven't reached September yet, and she's still plugging away on getting it out for September 1st. But this is the August e-newsletter and all the things that happened, just a snippet of what happened in August. As you can see, there's a lot more photos that we've incorporated and changed, and that's from the new design that Dana has created for our e-newsletter. A lot of great things that we did in August and continue to do up through the last week. On page 103, we have a big event coming up on September 13th at Paradise Park. As you know, they're wonderful supporters of our library. So when we have an opportunity to maybe go off-site and have some fun and bring some music and bring in our patrons, we will do that. And that will happen on September 13th from 7 to 9. Great music coming and an opportunity for you to participate. On page 104, this is our flyer for our annual community read. We launched it on Thursday, August 8th. Beautiful Music is the title for this year. Lots of programming that will happen August through November. I've included all of the information for you to be aware of events going on, not only at our library, but at our neighboring libraries. And then Michael Zadorian, the author of Beautiful Music, will be at the library on November 13th at 7 p.m. The reason for choosing this book this year does tie in with the 50th anniversary of the city of Novi. The book takes place in the late 1960s, 1969, and early 70s. And we thought that would be a wonderful tie since we're celebrating the city in 50 years in 1969 becoming a city. So we're taking that approach. It's a fiction book this year. It is set in Detroit. And, you know, a lot was going on in Detroit in 1969 and in the early 70s. Some great history, as well as some great music. And so we feel we've chosen a wonderful book for people to enjoy this time. Yeah. And I hope that you will also read and enjoy it. We have 50 copies, of which all are checked out right now at the library, so you have to put a hold on. But if we see the demand growing, we will buy additional copies and make sure that we can meet demand based on the holds that we have in the building. So I hope you will put that on your calendar as well. It's a Wednesday evening. And then I do have your library board calendar available through 2020 and July 23rd, as far as I know at this point. Are there any questions that I can entertain for you?
I just have a really quick one.
Yes.
For the Beautiful Music,
Yes.
will he be signing his books at the community reads as well?
Great question. Selling and signing.
Yes.
Yes.
Not signing and giving away for free. Good distinction.
Selling and
Because
signing.
it could be free. Thank you.
Any other comments on what she just went over?
I know I gave you a lot of meat this time.
It's,
Good.
you know, I realize not everybody in Novi is here or watching us on TV, but I wish they were, because I'd venture to say 99% would be flabbergasted at all that has gone on and going on month after month after month. It's amazing.
Thank you. And I will be happy to tell my staff, because if it weren't for them planning and, you know, being creative and thinking of ways for us to be a destination place in the community, we wouldn't be here doing this. So kudos to all of them.
Well done.
Thank you.
That was the director's.
I know, I feel like I need a glass of water, right?
Okay. Yeah, take a breath, get a drink. We're going to go through probably relatively quickly the committee reports. Policy Committee?
I don't have anything at this time.
All right. HR Committee, the chair is not here. In fact, nobody from the HR Committee is here. So unless you have something you'd like to add?
The only thing I'm going to add is the very last bullet point is that internal HR committee meetings with library staff will begin in September to start the review of the current policies that we have, and a call for staff volunteers was made. I just finalized those, and I have 8 staff for HR, and I have 8 staff for our public policy to be on 2 committees that will be involved with this process for the next 6 months. Okay?
The Finance Committee, the chair is not here. Just real quickly as we look through that. Bill, you have anything you want to add since you're also on that committee?
No, not other than I'm looking forward to the continued discussion about the cafe
Me too,
lease.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to events and marketing.
All right, so we actually met back on Monday, August 5th. Tara, Kat, and I met with Julie and Dana.
Yes.
That meeting was only an hour, but a lot came out of that.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, just looking at the report on here on page 49. So actually, sometime that we actually emailed all the trustees to try and find like some fun facts and interesting concepts about each of the trustees and our reps, our team reps here. I actually have a good response so far. I just have one more trustee I'm waiting on responses for, and then hopefully after that we can have that email to Julie and Dina to get our library board bingo worked out. I'm learning a lot of interesting facts about everybody, which is good. The concept around that would be potentially we would have like I think we're talking like a Brady Bunch square of like 9 different spots, and then it could be like a different tidbit of each trustee, and then the public would have to match the trustee with that interesting fact, and then we would do that monthly. Is that what we talked about? Yep. Yep. So monthly, a new library board bingo card will come out, and we talk about potentially doing prizes to award people for taking part of that. So that is something that we're working on for library board bingo, and then also talk about social media, trying to increase our social media presence a little bit more, pushing more with Facebook boosting, maybe more with Facebook Live, Twitter, Instagram, and pushing in with that more, especially that's where a lot of the people who are on social media are going towards is Instagram now. Maybe not as much with Twitter, which surprises me, but especially because I'm a big tweeter. And then also we talked about a couple of other things. Possibly each month having a trustee talk about a recent book that they read, and then maybe taping themselves a little bit, and then that video get posted to like the library's Facebook account. That way we can share what we're reading to the public, and just sharing it and then encouraging them to check out that book from the library. And then marketing plan we're also tasked with looking at as well. We are looking at that and changes or ideas to improve that what we do later in September.
If I can add one thing, we did get our approval for Nextdoor, so we will be able to add now information to Nextdoor from a larger, business perspective. And so I just received that approval. So it's
For
another-
those that don't know what Nextdoor is, can you explain it?
So it's basically neighborhood communities, and it surrounds, so depending on where you're living, you're part of that next door, that neighborhood, and it is social media so that you can post information. You can be selling something, you can be alerting people to information, services, all kinds of things go on there, but it's from a neighborhood perspective. So instead of a Facebook page, it really is next door, your neighborhood.
And the city's using that.
They are.
Tool also.
Right, so we joined it now so that we're equal to what the city can do in terms of posting. I had created an account and I created it with the Novi Libraries logo, and I was only posting from the library's perspective as me, but now we have a bigger account that we can utilize.
So cool. Thank you.
Yep, that's it for me.
Very good, thank you.
I agree, you accomplished a lot in
Strategic Planning Committee. I don't think there's anything new, is there?
Nope, nothing.
There is
new.
not, and we're continuing to work on the promotional pieces, yes.
Building and landscape, I'll run through some of that quick. We have a number of items there. We've talked about the Novi special race car before. It is still planning, we are still planning on it leaving our building maybe in October.
Correct. I don't have a date yet.
Yeah. The cafe.
Before we leave that, can
Oh,
I,
yeah, sure.
I'd like to just put something out there that I want you to be aware of. Should we, or when we move the race car, they're based on the meetings that I've had currently with our vendors and some of the furniture and things that will need to be moved in order to accommodate the car leaving the building. We will have to do a late opening on the date that ends up becoming that determining date. So it is my plan, we've talked to our vendors, and the vendors are going to be very accommodating with coming in the building very early, probably by 6 a.m. But I'm probably going to, and we'll post, as soon as I know it, we'll make sure people know that date, but we probably won't open the building until about 1 o'clock that day. Plenty of time for it to be open for the students to be able to come over after school, and then it is planned for hopefully a day that is one of our later days where we're open till 9 o'clock. I'm not looking at a short day. So I just wanted you to be aware, and as soon as I get a solid date, I will let you know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The cafe, the prior operator of the cafe, still, I believe.
We are
We did not
officially.
receive
Yes.
payment
We
for
have.
April and May. Oh, we have?
We have. So
Okay.
at this point, what he did is he told us to keep the deposit that was to be returned to him, because he said his April and May revenue would have equaled, plus a tiny little check of approximately $30 that goes over that 500. So we are completely
Okay.
done with Mr. Bernstein.
Good. Talking about the property and the grounds, we had some drainage issues. Any update on that? You had people looking at it.
We did, haven't received any quotes yet on how to move forward.
Okay. The lending library kiosk, I wasn't in that meeting. Can you quickly?
It was
tell us?
just with the city,
Okay.
and just to hear an update on Lakeshore Park. As far as I know, the building, the pavilion, and the playscapes have been removed from the site. They are looking at the site and getting it ready, in order to start construction. I don't have a time frame for that construction yet, but they are still keeping to a sustainable building by the end of December. So we're still on track. Right now, from this meeting, I am waiting on some more information from the city on the canopy that will go over our lending kiosk. And once I get that information, because that was part of architecture on their end, once I receive that, we will finalize all drawings and all information that our vendor needs to provide, so that we can give it to the architecture in order for it to be final information to move forward, so that they're aware of what we will need for the installation of the lending library in the spring. Still, the time frame is May. I think what they're concerned about is we had a very wet spring, and should that happen again, and how that might impact us. It's still a time frame of mid to end of May to be opening the park. I know that they want to have that park open by Memorial Weekend. That is their goal. But frost laws and things like that play into that. We don't know how late those will go into the spring. And so that's some of the unknowns that we're going to have to be a little bit, fluid with over the next few months. It's my hope that we will be moving forward, though, and not purchasing because we've already put down a deposit, but moving forward with the order of the lending library kiosk by January, and then going from there.
And you've kept our vendor for that up to speed?
Yes,
and
absolutely. He was
everything's good.
recently in
Okay.
a call, so, and actually we'll be planning a call with them again in October once we have some further information from the city.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a brief comment on the LED lighting. We had some bulbs we needed to swap out. I think that's been done.
We just have a couple more things. There's still just a few more things to be done there, but yes, we are done.
Okay, and talk about the library van, if you would, please.
So we approved last budget to purchase a new van. It has been ordered. It's a transit van. All of the information about what is incorporated in the van and the details we provided to you during budget time, but this is going to be a new van, obviously, that will, I believe, get more mileage because we're going to be using it for lending library, plus all of the other older adult buildings that we service and go out to during the week. So we'll be able to move materials from the building over to the lending library, and based on need, be able to fill that kiosk on a regular basis. It'll allow us the opportunity for facilities to use it should they need to buy materials, go pick up supplies, things like that. It will be owned by the library, but we are going to work with the city, knowing that they've been partners in the past and they've allowed us borrowing their van for the last couple years when we sold ours. I can think of maybe 1 or 2 times a month that they use their van and it's parked at ours. So there will be, a couple times a month that there will be usage of that van when we're not needing it for the city. And I'll be bringing that memorandum of understanding to you probably in the winter.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
We would certainly want to continue that
Absolutely.
good relationship.
Right, I agree.
Julie, do we have employees authorized to drive the van and insured?
We do, yes. And then we're also, based on the budget, looking for a van driver specifically for lending library and those types of runs that will be hired probably in the winter and moving us forward. So yes, it's a standard van. It doesn't need a CDL or anything, just so you know. But yes, they have all been approved in order to be a driver. They're out of our outreach team.
Good. Anything else on that?
Yep,
No, sounds good.
A quick question.
Sure.
All right, the race car is leaving supposedly mid-October. So after the race car gets moved out, what is going to be in that space?
That's a great question. For now, it's going to be carpet squares, so
Okay.
we'll finish it off for an area. My youth department has assured me that they have plenty of toys and things that they can put in that space for now to keep everybody occupied and entertained, and interacting with the space.
Okay.
But what you're going to see at the 2021 budget information this winter is a good design of what we'll bring for 2021 for renovation.
Okay, all right. So in that space right now, is that big platform that the race car's on?
That will be demolished.
Okay, same day, or is that going to take some time?
It should be all done in the same day, from
Okay.
what I'm hearing from the time frame and the vendors that we're working with.
Okay.
We're hoping for a one-day turnaround.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good question.
Yes, it is.
There's nothing from the bylaw committee, I don't think.
There is
No.
not.
So we will move on to the second of 2 opportunities for public comment. Once again, in order to hear all citizen comments at a reasonable hour, the board requests that speakers respect a 3-minute time limit. This is not a question and answer session, therefore the board members will not respond to questions. It is an opportunity to voice your thoughts with the Novi Public Library Board of Trustees. Is there anyone else? Please come forward and tell us once again who you are.
Very impressive. My name is Venkat Thalla, and I've been sitting here for 1 hour almost, as you are all. And it is an excellent opportunity and kind of blessing. I want to thank all of you for serving our community in an excelling manner. I have been going through this, our library mission statement and our library slogan and our library proclamation and the agenda. The preparation has been excellent. So, and I notice here we are 10 in the board or 9?
We have 7 trustees and 2 student reps.
So 9.
Yes.
So those 9s I was talking about agile methodology, and agile values are 4 and agile principles are 12. And so these 9 kind of are the custodians for the 12 principles, agile principles. And also upholders or supporters of those 4 values. So those 4 values are included in our mission statement: educational, cultural, informational, and recreational. So those 4 agile values, they map perfectly to those. So our mission statement is complete. And also I want to inform all of you, this map to, even the agile values map to the universal 4 fundamental forces: the strong nuclear force and weak nuclear force and electromagnetic force and gravitational force. And Also, those map to here, our mission statement values that we are supposed to be supporting and upholding, also map to our slogan here, inform, inspire, include, and I feel we need interact also in that. So the interact would correspond to recreational, and inform will correspond to informational, and inspire will correspond to the educational, that you inspire and you transform the students and all the people who want to learn. And then cultural is include. So that's why that will be appropriately fit in that, I thought. So this is what I am talking about. The world is going through this, the entire globe is going through this transformation from classical to agile methodology. Thank you. God bless us all.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, we are at matters for board action. Let's go first to the budget dates, budget meeting dates on page 36. I think, Julie, if I wrote that down right, we had modified the first two meetings to be Thursday, the 9th of January from 4 to 7, the second one Tuesday, the 21st, from 4 to 7.
You are correct.
Okay. So that's what we've been asked. Would anyone like to make comments or a motion to vote on this?
I'll make a motion to present Thursday, January 9th, from 4 to 7 p.m. for our first budget session. And if we need a second one, that would be Tuesday, 4 to 7 on the 21st.
And we'll finalize it at the board meeting,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any comments on that?
Oh, I'm sorry. And then Thursday, January 23rd at 7 p.m. Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So approved.
Thank you.
Okay, next is the 3 days of
Can
closing.
we do need to go back, I apologize.
Yeah.
The February 27th meeting,
Oh,
would you,
sorry.
at this point, that will be a canceled meeting. I'm going to be out of town. So
That being the board meeting.
that is the board
Yeah.
meeting, yes. So I do need a motion in order to do that, for canceling. Do you want to cancel altogether, or would you like me to look for another date to reschedule in February? That would be my
I would suggest looking for another date.
Great, okay. So what I'll do is, it will be canceled, that'll go on the calendar, and I'm gonna quickly look for a date, and I'm gonna assign it based on availability, hopefully here.
Do you have one here already?
I don't.
Did I read that?
I don't have,
Thursday,
it's-
February 20th?
There's two options, there's Wednesday, February 19th, and Thursday, but I don't know the availability of.
I
the
gotcha.
weekend.
Okay.
Yes, that's where I'm.
So TBD.
Right.
Okay.
Usually when we change something like that, I move it to a Wednesday or Thursday before, a week
Right.
before.
Yeah.
And I'll look to see what's available.
Okay.
Okay.
Great, so I need a motion to cancel that February meeting.
You're so good.
Okay. Okay, so I make a motion to cancel the February 27th board meeting and to replace it at a later time that's TBD.
Great.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving right along, we have to look at pages 41 and 42. And here, the request was for 3 additional days for closing the library based on the holiday schedule. It's an issue that comes up pretty much every year. Any discussion, anyone, yes, Mr. Weller?
I personally have no problem with moving the August day to May. On the other issue, we did some more surveys in the last year or so. And I was just wondering, were there any questions in there to the, I was gonna say patrons, but I'll say guests, about their reaction to days off around the holidays?
We have not asked that specific type of question. We have not. We've asked if we extended hours. That was a question that we asked. If they wanted extended hours, where would that be appreciated?
I would like to see us do that at some point.
Okay.
Get some feedback on how they feel about that, because the numbers are, I guess, a little bit lower on some of those days. They don't seem dramatically lower to me from the average days. So I think that would be very valuable input to get from some means. I don't know if it's another survey or some kind of a support group, or ask the homeowners that
Sure.
come in, or
Sure.
something to give us something to go on.
We definitely can reach out. I'm in a time frame for 2020's calendar for this year. I'd be happy to do that surveying so that when we come up to the 2021, we could have all that information in place.
Just to get some clarification, Julie, the reasoning for this particular year for the 4th and the 5th is because it's a Saturday and Sunday and it's the holiday weekend, correct?
That is correct.
So you wouldn't be necessarily considering that for next year,
That is
would
correct.
you?
These are one-time closures. They don't become permanent closures.
So my thought process, I wanted to clarify that with you when I read it earlier.
Right.
But my thought process is, if I worked for you and I had that Saturday off and I wanted to take a vacation, it would stink to have to come back Sunday. Because a lot of people do go
That's
away for
staffing,
4th
but
of
we
July.
work around that.
Sure.
What
That was my thought process.
No, absolutely, and that is part of it, absolutely it is. But it's more, if you look at the numbers, it's more usage and how the building's been used to close, on that weekend. If you look, July 5th, we were pretty busy when we actually had the numbers to show July 5th.
Yeah.
Over the years. The holiday numbers for December 26th and 27th are much lower, as you can see. So, it's summer reading time. And
Yeah.
that is a big time in the summer for the library to use, and weekends, and, they're not running with school and stuff. And I
Right.
think that's a big part of why those numbers do stay higher. So,
Is it-
that's why I want you to know that and reflecting on that.
Is it your recommendation that we close those 3 days that you outlined?
For staff and guest purposes, yes. However, I entertain however the board should. I know we've had conversations in the past about the board not being interested in closing at times, and I would understand that. I wanted you to see usage numbers,
Yeah.
but yes, it would be my recommendation to close on those days.
Yeah, we've wrestled with this
Right.
every
We have.
year that I've been on the board.
It's always a fun conversation in August, isn't it?
Yeah. Comments from other board members?
Being that these 3 days are on weekends, I think especially because people might be planning an extended vacation, or a lot of businesses are closed for the weekends, especially with the holidays. I think those 3 days I'm not as concerned about. Just looking at the numbers, especially for the 5th of July, where this year where it was 832,
Right.
where we average normally like 1,300. I'll say, just give a rough estimate on average. The day I still have a little concern about is our in-service day, the
Yes.
Friday, May 1st, just because school is still in session.
Yeah.
And I know at the last meeting, we talked about potentially moving or having doing a half-day in-service. Is that still in the question, or?
It would be challenging, because typically what we do is we bring in all the staff, and
Right.
typically on a Friday, not all the staff work.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna have that, it's gonna be difficult then to bring in people that don't normally work and pay them, do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then have some people go back to work.
Okay.
I would prefer a full day, because based on what the agenda you saw and what we try to do, even though we might do lending library in the morning, it is our one day to connect with safety, policy, and I do realize it is, in May, it is a day of the schools being affected by it. But it just is one day that we really try to jam pack it so that we get the benefit out of it too for the staff.
Right.
That's why we moved it to August. Years ago,
Right,
I think
yep.
actually you were on
Yep.
as a student rep, used to be in November. And that's why we moved it to August, because we didn't want it to affect the kids.
Okay.
So I would definitely not want that to be a regular, you know,
Right.
process of doing that. But with the lending library coming when it is and the time frame, I think it's the best time to, you know,
Right.
take advantage of the time.
Is there a day that the schools are closed on a Friday? I don't know the Novi calendar as well.
Right, and I can look, but I can tell you that the Novi's calendar still has not been completely finalized and does change.
Gotcha.
So it's, yeah.
Okay.
It does sometimes change.
Understandable.
I'm curious.
We are really good about communicating that it is a Friday, which is less of a usage day than another day of the week. So that is the benefit to it, should we choose it.
I was just curious, is today like your, like, absolute, you would need to know by today?
It
Because
is.
I'm like, man, you don't have a good shot here.
No, I know. I was hoping these would have been discussed, you know, that's why we started this in June.
Sure.
But I realized we had to put them off a few times, but we're at a critical time now.
So
for
you need
getting
a vote
information to the city
today.
For the calendar at this point.
Huh, okay.
Yeah, I think we all have some mixed emotions.
Me too.
I would personally lean towards going with your recommendation. Certainly, as long as, you know, the agreement that you've had on Bill's comments about really getting more input from the
Absolutely.
guests as to how they view it.
That's a good
Because that's
suggestion.
how we're looking at it. We're
Sure.
looking at it, how many people are gonna drive up there and then be upset or disappointed at
Yes.
least
Right.
because we're closed.
Right.
I think, and I understand the point about school being in.
I do
I
too.
happen to think that this one is something we need to do, and that Friday's probably as good as any day we're gonna do it. The December days, again, we're not setting a precedence, but in a way we are, because those days come up pretty much every year,
They
one
do.
after another.
And where they're most critical or coming up or on my radars because they're on weekends this
Right.
time.
Yeah.
Where during the week, you know, we don't close typically, we just kind of go along with the calendar, but with it falling on a weekend and knowing that probably people are going to be less likely to visit the building, that's why we're looking at it that way.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. And we wouldn't, just for clarification, that following weekend, we would be open in January as we lead into the school year, because we know the kids are going to want to get back in the building and want library usage. So it's not 2 weekends in a row, even though there's a holiday on both of those long weekends. It's just this one.
In a small perk, by that point, the lending library should be open for usage, so people can, if they need their
That's a good
library
point.
fixed, they can also
Yep.
head out to Lakeshore.
That's a great point, actually, because you're right, we could fill it and then make it available, and, you know, you'd have 235 items to get to,
Yep.
sure.
So you probably want these as 3 different motions, right? And let me tell you why I'm asking that.
Sure.
Because some of the dates I feel like, yeah, you know, close it. And other dates I'm like, but what about, like, specifically December? I was thinking about, like, not that you even need to know my reasoning, we all get a vote, right? But
Sure.
I'm just throwing it out there. I think about students that are home and have to hurry up and get their stuff done and need to get away from their family that's like driving them bananas. So I know my former life as a grad student, I would have wanted to get away to the library with my family during that little time to get work done. But obviously, I don't feel that way about all the days. So,
We can take them individually.
Absolutely.
I think it's
Yes.
better.
They're not linked.
That is correct.
okay.
Anyone want to make a motion about the July 4th,
July 5th.
5th?
Am I still your motion person? Are we consistent, or do we want to?
Anyone can make the motion, but please go ahead.
Being silly, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'll make a motion for July 5th to be closed, 2020.
2020 only. at this
Only.
point, yeah.
You are correct.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Moving along to December 26th and 27th. Discussion, comments, or motions?
I'll make a motion that the library be closed December 26th and 27th of 2020 only. And any further years will be discussed with input from our guests.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay.
I love how you know me. You're just like, I'm not even looking at her. You felt my energy.
I did. And let's talk about the in-service date for May 1st,
I'd like to keep it not at May 1st, but just May.
May.
Yes,
Not the month, just a day in May.
correct.
And then you'll just plug in when you,
We will. So that won't end up on the calendar for the city in 2020, just because I don't want to put something on and then have it wrong. And since we really don't have a good idea at this point, it's just, we're going to plan in May and see how it goes.
so
We'll
do you
do-
need a vote on this, or?
I do need a vote.
Okay.
Yes, because I'll take it off August and we'll move forward with it so that it doesn't show. But we'll just make sure that we communicate very early that May date. And we contact the school district and the high school during that week and let the kids know, so just so you're aware.
So typically a Friday though, is
It would be a Friday, yes, I would be looking at a Friday, absolutely, yes, yes.
So I can make a motion that we move the normally August staff in service to some Friday in May to accommodate all staff training because of the library kiosk at Lakeshore Park. Training.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Next, the approval of the library lease. Should we be looking at what's in the booklet or this one here? That's what I
You
thought.
should be looking at your newest version, and I made some highlights in red, which are very minimal to what you had previous, but at the very top on the first page, there was a mistake of the address, so I will make sure that that is cleaned up. Then down at the bottom, under 2 for consideration, just a point of note, it's not anything that's gonna change in the lease, but I want you to know that we'll invoice them. They're looking for an invoice instead of it just a payment, and we'll invoice usually the beginning of the month so that we receive it by the 15th, just so you're aware, okay? I have no suggestions or changes on page 2. On page 3, I would like to note under hours of operation, if you look at Friday and Saturday, it should state 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. is the change. And these are just the preliminary hours that meet right now the library. I do believe that we'll see extended hours and something even greater, but I'd like to lock into just a regular set of hours for now, that they'd have to be minimum based on this lease. I had no changes on page 4, no changes on page 5, no changes on page 6, no changes on page 7. I want to make sure you see on page 8, under term and termination, it says the agreement shall be for a term of 3 years commencing on the effective date. I am comfortable with that. We have enough language in the lease that should there be of any concern, we would find a way to end that lease definitely in advance of that, should we need to. I am comfortable with page 9. I am comfortable with page 10. You have, on page 11, that's the signature page. Page 12 is the attachment, which describes attachment B, which is the floor plan. And then we have on page 13 and 14 our insurance requirements, which I am comfortable with on page 13 and 14. These have been reviewed by our city attorney completely up until this afternoon, which is why you have this new version. He is satisfied with the language that has gone back and forth with the attorney with the school district. We would be entering into a 3-party lease agreement with the Novi Community School District, with the Novi Public Library, and with Compass Group USA Incorporated, which is through Chartwell's division, who we would be working with as their management team.
The two, I'll call them typos.
Yes.
Of the address and the hours, is that going to require them to have to re-vote on this?
I don't believe so,
Okay.
because I believe they were taking it this evening. We're both meeting tonight.
Okay.
They were taking it this evening with, here's what we have so far, with possibly some very minor changes.
Okay.
And I'd like you to approve in the same vein, should there be something coming back. But the meat of this lease has gone back and forth, and you are seeing it in its best form.
So the only thing you want changed from what's typed are those two?
Yes. And I will communicate that tomorrow morning
okay.
when the lease is signed.
I have a question,
Yes.
just to clarify, because, and I'll put it out there that
Sure.
contract reading is not my expertise. But for hours of operation where you've made those changes, is that listing the library's scheduled hours of operation or the cafe's hours of operation?
Cafe, that's a great question. It's cafe.
Okay.
That's what we would be expecting the cafe to be open based on the hours that the library's actually open longer.
Okay,
But based on
right.
that, we're gonna look for them to have those set hours at least.
Okay, so, all right, so- because the wording seemed a little
If you
funky.
look at the paragraph above there, it says the hours of business shall be at a minimum all hours if the library is open.
Right.
They agree, so, and then below that is where it spells out what those hours
Right,
are.
what those expectations are.
Okay, and then, so are we, then for this floor plan, are we, so the cafe space is kind of changing the space that it currently, or has been at? This is more kind of like open space?
This is the current floor plan based on the architecture of the building back in 2010 when we opened. Nothing has changed.
Okay.
And there is no structural changes to the cafe to date. It is
Okay.
going to be the same floor plan and the same opportunity for them to put in equipment as it was planned when we opened the building in 2010.
Okay, just seems a little more open, but I haven't checked.
Only
it.
because it was a very rough draft at that
Right, okay,
time from
gotcha.
architectural standpoint, yes. Mhm. Great question.
Any other questions or comments about the cafe and the lease?
In some ways, this lease reminds me a little bit of the LED project in that we know it's a positive change. We know the parties are great, but it was a challenging process to get to this point.
There were a few Band-Aids ripped off, absolutely.
So with all that in mind, even though some of this changed, beyond what maybe we envisioned going in, I'm very comfortable with it. The only question I had was election days. It seems like the prior cafe owner wasn't interested in opening early on election days. Will these folks be interested in that, or does this need to be included anywhere?
That's a great question. In an email that I sent out to you, which went to the staff, probably by October, we'll be already looking at extended hours and the opportunity for them to be open at different times earlier, that our voters would appreciate on voting day, if that helps answer your question. Yes,
It would be their option to
it would be.
open,
Yes.
But they seem inclined to want to do
They
so.
seem very interested in being available and open, correct.
So there's no guarantee, but most likely they might.
Yes, I'm very confident,
Okay.
yes.
All right, so I am very excited because I am a poll worker assigned to the library precinct.
And I'm there at 6 a.m.
Yep.
Okay,
Yes, okay. I make a motion for approval of library cafe lease with Novi Community School District and Compass Group USA, Inc., which is Chartwell's division.
Second.
Could you add with minor?
With minor changes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Moving on to the next point, which is meeting room rental, but we don't have any more information on that, so is that,
Actually, let's go back up to D, if you don't mind, trustee Messernack.
oh, did I miss one?
The friends.
You've got a
Oh,
lot
I'm
there.
sorry, I did
You
miss
have
one.
you have a long list tonight, so
I
I
do.
understand.
Friends of the Novi Library, that agreement on 94 to 97.
So this is first draft, so I wanted to just give you an opportunity to read this. We do not have to approve this evening. As I shared, they did approve it at their August meeting, but with only having 4 members, if you're comfortable with waiting and me bringing it back, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I think we can do that. I mean, knowing, again, just like with the cafe lease, knowing the road that this has traveled, off the top of my head, it seemed like it was quite good. But yeah, why don't we bring it back next week if
Absolutely.
we can?
Is this something that we've never had before and we're just now doing?
Well, we had what we called a memorandum of understanding, and in the conversations we had when we were starting to look into an endowment, it was suggested by our attorney that we actually make that more into an operating agreement with them, just based on what they do and we do, and with getting into our endowment. So this has been reviewed by and drafted and created by our attorney. It takes a lot of the language that was in our memorandum of understanding, but it is more legalized for the 2 parties. I can tell you that the Friends we've met and discussed this over a number of months, and at this point, they're very comfortable with it.
Okay. So you'll bring it back
I
next
will,
meeting?
absolutely.
Now, the meeting room rental.
Yes, so I'm still working with my staff. We've had lots of moving parts with this particular policy. I hope to bring it back in September for you.
Okay. And then we have point F,
Yes.
which is what I would call it is prepaying defined benefits for 2020 out of the surplus in operating funds from 2019,
Correct.
18-19.
You are correct.
Okay. And again, just to summarize, we currently look like we'll be coming in about 240,000 to the good as far as the 268 budget is concerned, and we would be moving a little over, or using a little over 40 of that to prepay next year's defined benefit amount, which actually might also cover part of the following year, which would take our 240 surplus down to roughly 200.
You are correct.
So, that said, any discussion or comments about that? At first, I didn't quite understand the benefit of doing that, but I think now, to me, it makes sense. And as an ex-treasurer, I don't have a problem with doing that either.
Would you mind clarifying what you think is the benefit?
Thank you.
Just to, just so
Well,
I can.
One, we're following what the city does, okay, which they seem to like us to do. And I don't think there's a reason not to. And it covers that and pays us ahead. I don't know that there's a huge benefit. I don't think there's a drawback to it. It's really a matter of it's the impact on the fund balance. And we certainly have the fund balance to do that, as the balance sheet shows. So I don't see it as a big benefit, quite frankly, but I don't see any reason not to. Had we come in with a negative fund balance usage,
Yes.
we're obviously taking you at your word that the minus 33
Yes.
is actually a plus 240.
Yes, it is. You are correct. And I do have a statement that I received just this week that gives a preliminary, but a really good number of $244,000 that we know will be
Yeah.
surplus fund balance for
The
this
other
year.
thing that it does do is when we meet in January to talk about the 2020 budget, 2021, that's hard to say.
It is.
Budget, that it would be roughly $25,000 or so of expenditures that we won't incur that year
Right.
because we have prepaid it.
Gotcha.
So there's a potential for savings for next year in 2021
So I have
by prepaying.
I have 2 questions. One of them is, do you definitely need this vote tonight?
I do, because we're heading into the audit and closing out the books for this to take effect. So they're finalizing their numbers.
Do you have anything in writing to clarify this?
Yes, I do, yeah.
That
I
I-
received it from the city, from Sabrina Lila, which is from the finance department.
I just want to
And
read
her,
it.
her email.
Because you said it excellently. I just want to read it for myself.
I actually read the email to Craig. Her email is, so I have it electronically. She was encouraging us to do it based on the city doing it this year because they had a similar situation with surplus.
Can I see your phone? I just want to read it to make sure I understand exactly what I'm saying yes or no to. I think our guests will appreciate that. I'm trying to get used to saying guest. Thank you so much, Julie. I appreciate it. Sorry, I'm going to push cancel if that's okay.
That's fine.
Thanks.
I think I'm in favor of doing it, but this doesn't mean we'll necessarily do it every year.
That's correct. It would
Well-
depend on fund balance and the way our ending numbers are.
I think it does beg the question of, why not prepay $200,000 of other expenses?
True.
And I think that starts to misreport, if that's proper English, misreport the numbers.
I can share, and Craig, I'm not sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I can't remember if you were on the board yet. When, at one time, the library board did a $150,000 prepay on the defined benefit. And it allowed us, I'd have to look at the years, but a number of years where we didn't pay them for future budgets to just give us a little more use of other monies and putting it in different opportunities. So that was done a number of years back. It might have been before you started. You're my history at this
Yeah,
point, so.
I kind of remember it and I kind of don't,
Do you
so
go
I
back?
think I at least remember that it was discussed.
Good.
Yeah, thank you. So the just little discussion part, I'm turning it over in my head. It sounds like it's not necessarily a benefit for us. It would help the city. We don't report to the city, but we play with them well. So I always like to say that just because sometimes people are like, the city's doing it, we should do it. And I'm like, that's not really what our stuff says. But at the same time, it doesn't sound like it is a drawback. So I don't see a negative with saying yes. And since you need an answer today,
We do.
I would not like to be the person to hold it up. Especially after reading it and understanding that it's
Sure.
not detrimental.
And just clarification, it's not a benefit to the city, it's a benefit to the board for moving forward, should you want to save some money future.
I think she's talking about it's a benefit to the city for the city to do what it's doing. Is that what you meant?
Oh, yeah, I
Right.
mean, and for then the defined contribution account, in order for us to do that, absolutely. Yes, but it does impact us as a library specifically being separate from them.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I always like to,
Right, absolutely.
because we get into a groove, we're like, the
Right.
city's doing it, we should do it. I'm like, okay, we gotta think.
No, I understand that, it's just, I think it's a good thing that they brought this to us, that, they also saw the same thing and they wanted to let us know, hey, we're doing this, and we saw, because they watch our finances as well, we see that you have this as well this year, would you like to do it? That's
No,
how
her
it
email was
presented.
perfect. It didn't sound like she was telling you what to do at all.
They're not, no.
So,
They're not,
no.
they're just, hey, we wanna know, would you like to do the same, because we are.
We probably would not have thought of that.
Actually,
Not
I
at
wouldn't
all.
have, I'll be honest,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And my hesitation is, just making sure that when I say yes to something that I really feel it,
Sure, absolutely.
But the email looked good to me,
Great.
and I don't think it's a bad thing, and I think you need an answer tonight.
Yeah,
And
and I apologize, had I not received this earlier, that email would have gone directly into your board pack for you
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah, you did the best you can. I mean, what can you do? So, yes, I am ready when you are.
Would you like to make a
Oh, my
motion?
goodness. How do you even make that motion? You can't. How do you say it?
Bill?
I would make a motion that we approve the prepaying of the benefits requested by the city for this year only.
Correct. And I'm gonna put an amount of $40,124.98.
That's
I
important.
was gonna say, put the money in. That's the part that tripped me up. I'm like, uh-oh.
There you go.
Okay.
We have a motion?
Yep, second.
Any other discussion on it? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Thank you.
We have done
You're
that.
welcome.
We've now come, at long last, to number 16, which is adjournment. Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.